John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, call! Frank Mir does it again! Rock'em sock'em robots here, oh my goodness!
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Next shot, bang!
Good Monday to you. I just heard Frank Mir's name, Kenny, in the Anik and Florian Podcast Open. And it dawned on me after seeing his name mentioned as a possible future Hall of Famer now that we have closed the door on the class of 2025. I feel like a lot of our listenership might not even know who Frank Mir is. I do think the Hall of Fame comes calling for him one day, right?
Isn't that crazy? You know, Frank Mir, an absolute legend, great dude. One of the best submission artists you will ever see in heavyweight history. Turned into a fantastic striker as well. Yeah, man. And that fight, what an absolute classic, dude.
So, yeah, Frank Mir's done a ton of different things. And I just always think it's interesting in terms of when a man or woman gets into the UFC Hall of Fame. I mean, Demetrius Johnson and Dominic Cruz, there's so many different guys that are going to get inducted, I would think, in the next few years. But I do wonder for a guy like Frank Mir, now that Vitor Belfort is in or is about to be in, when they will come calling for Frank Mir. Good to have everybody with us today. A few technical difficulties, so we'll see how it's going. I'm hearing a little bit of a muzzle, but hopefully we can nip that in the bud. But thank you all for being with us. Good Monday to you. It's May 19th, 2025. A lot of birthdays around the Anik and Florian Podcast. We had Cody Merrow on May 15th. We got Ken-Flo coming up May 26th. We got Bruce Buffer, who's not really part of the Anik and Florian Podcast family. I think Ray Longo May 21st. So I can't keep track of all of it, but great to have everybody with us today. It is the 551st iteration of the Anik and Florian Podcast, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. So, my goodness, Ken-Flo, so much has happened since we were last on the air. Fight announcement after fight announcement, any different direction, any number of different directions in which we can go. But let me begin, I guess, with the fact that as I was going through some betting odds today, right? UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira, right? So not only does the upcoming UFC featherweight champion get the red corner, presumably here, right? And not the former undisputed UFC lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira, right? But Ilia Topuria is a massive betting favorite. And I guess since he's your favorite fighter, maybe you're not surprised, motherfuckers. But that's the big news. Topuria v. Oliveira, and seemingly Islam Makhachev will be vacating the lightweight throne.
Well, allow me to rephrase a little bit. I'm not sure he's my favorite fighter, but I do think he probably is the best fighter in the UFC. And, you know, it's funny, ever since you mentioned it way back in the day when we were discussing Topuria going up to 155, you mentioned the possibility of this fight happening. And ever since you put that into my head, I thought this was the fight that was destined to happen. And here we are, Charles Oliveira, with all of his skills, submissions, striking, his ability to finish you at any time, is taking on another dynamic finisher in Ilia Topuria, and what I think is going to be an amazing fight. It is for the belt now. Islam Makhachev has vacated or will be vacating it, and I mean, this is just a promoter's dream, but a fan's dream fight as well.
You do wonder if Islam Makhachev desired to defend belts or try to win belts in both divisions if they would have made a UFC interim lightweight championship here at International Fight Week, because they need the title fight. Obviously they need the headliner, right? I mean, you can go division by division and understand why this fight is being made. And if Islam Makhachev indeed wants to sort of turn the page on cutting that weight, maybe not unlike Ilia Topuria, congratulations to Islam Makhachev on what you can argue is the best lightweight career of all time in the UFC. For me, it's still probably BJ Penn is probably the guy, and Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev, Benson Henderson, right? But there's so many different components to this conversation, but a big one for me is Islam Makhachev was chasing undeniable all-time lightweight greatness. And certainly I think it stands to reason that he can become the welterweight champion and go down as an all-time great. But I don't know, man. The fight game is so interesting that I really think only Islam knows exactly how this went down relative to his desires.
Yeah, I'm curious as to whether the weight cut was too much or whether he just wanted another challenge and wanted something that he felt he could attain to, add to his already amazing legacy. So fascinating stuff. Perhaps he will be back at lightweight, and we will see that fight eventually between him and Topuria. But as of right now, we have Topuria and Makhachev chasing some new titles. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, we don't have the Islam Makhachev Jack Della Maddalena fight just yet, but all indicators are that it'll be that fight, and we'll see when and where it goes down. Could be October in Abu Dhabi. Could it be November, Madison Square Garden? We shall see. To my knowledge, there isn't a pay-per-view on the books later this year in Australia, but I don't always have all the knowledge, so you just never know. Ken-Flo, care to reckon a guess, or venture a guess, I should say, as to what the betting line might be between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira when they do compete for the undisputed UFC lightweight championship?
Let's see. I would say maybe minus 225, maybe for Topuria.
Okay. All right. You're making me feel a little bit better. Okay. Because certainly on this program, right? Like, you are Team Topuria if one of us was to be classified as such. Okay. I absolutely love the guy, right? I had an amazing sit down with him before he became the champion, but he's minus 345.
Whoa.
Oliveira, who can be had right now on Johnny Avello's DraftKings Sportsbook. Charles Oliveira is plus 275, Kenny. And wow. I understand that these betting lines have nothing to do with respect, right? Like, some respect on Charles's name. He's plus 275. No, somebody goes and puts $10,000 on Charles Oliveira to win $27,500, and maybe that will change as far as the price is concerned. And I'm not the value police either, Ken. But Ilia Topuria, to my eyes, is a little bit undersized for lightweight. Certainly he's going to have a far easier cut than Charles Oliveira, no matter how much muscle mass he puts on. But against the most decorated finisher in UFC history, and another guy who can be considered an all-time great lightweight champion, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira, right? Ilia Topuria is a near 4-1 betting favorite, and seemingly they're taking two-way action. So, wow.
It's a lot, John, and perhaps I'll do my best to kind of justify it just a little bit. I think that Topuria is very, very good in a range where Oliveira maybe isn't so good. And if we've seen Oliveira, and we've seen Oliveira get dropped in this range, it's in boxing range, in close. That's where Topuria is an absolute master, perhaps better than anybody in the sport right now. And, if his power is able to transfer over to 155, then I imagine he will be able to catch Oliveira. Now, Oliveira also has some insane durability as well. He has come back many, many times before. And I'm curious to see whether Topuria's power and his finishing skills will be there at 155 pounds. We've seen it before at 155, but that was Jai Herbert. This is Charles Oliveira. So going to be an amazing fight.
Important distinction that, and it is going to be interesting. The first time that Islam Makhachev is heard from outside the other side of all of this, but tremendous comings and goings in the UFC's lightweight division, and we'll see how it goes. Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira, that is your headliner, UFC 317, June 28th. T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, lot to get to over the next 45 minutes or so. Longo coming up in 12 minutes, but let us get into all that happened over the weekend and all the other fight announcements. Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Found myself ordering the fucking Cristalino when I was in Las Vegas this weekend for the 15 and the Mahomes Foundation golf tournament. And Ken-Flo, I must say, so I was with Justin Gaethje a lot this week. Played golf with him on Thursday. I was at the pairings party with him on Wednesday for this Mahomes tournament, and he was pissed, right? He feels like certainly he was passed over in favor of Charles Oliveira for this opportunity against Ilia Topuria. And I think what Justin Gaethje and his manager, Ali Abdelaziz, Kenny, are looking for is just some sort of guarantee that they will be next, because it's May 19th. And the good news for this Topuria Oliveira fight is that it's fucking June 28th, Kenny, right? It's less than 6 weeks away. So, I don't think it's a crazy request for Justin, having done what he did against Rafael Fiziev, staying on the fight card, not fighting Dan Hooker, getting a win, distance from the UFC 300 result, right? And by the way, he fought at UFC 300 to help the UFC when he could have fought for the undisputed championship at that point in time. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Gaethje gets some sort of guarantee that he's next for the Topuria Oliveira winner. But I can just tell you that, Justin was not thrilled.
Well, I'm giggling inside. I'm sure Gaethje's upset. But I think that a fight between him and Topuria would be extremely interesting. Oliveira, of course, you have to worry about his takedown game. I don't think Oliveira is going to trade with Gaethje for too long. It's possible, but Topuria and Gaethje, that's guaranteed fireworks. Those guys are going to stand and bang. That is going to deliver for sure. And I think we'll see that at some point, man. I really do.
Straight meritocracy, Charles Oliveira has the higher ranking than Justin Gaethje. He is the former champion, and depending on how you look at recent wins, Michael Chandler, the recent win for Charles Oliveira, I mean, both men have a case, but neither is necessarily ironclad. Certainly both make for compelling matchups against Ilia Topuria, but it does seem like Islam Makhachev is putting out the vacancy sign with finality here. Justin Gaethje, I know they would like him to fight Paddy Pimblett, but if you're Justin Gaethje, on the cusp of fighting for the one prize that has eluded you in this sport, I mean, what is your number, right? If you're Justin Gaethje, to fight down in the rankings a guy like Paddy Pimblett, that win doesn't do anything to get him closer to the ultimate goal. And even if he beats Paddy Pimblett, unless he comes out super fucking healthy, it just serves as a further delay. So, Paddy has talked a little bit about his relative appetite for the Gaethje fight. I just am not sure that Justin's going to be signing on the dotted line for that one.
Did Justin mention anything, or maybe ever, to you about his activity and whether he would prefer to sit out or whether he'd want to stay busy and have a fight?
Great question, because we were talking about the next phase of his professional life, and in the 300 days. Well, I guess all right. So after Max Holloway knocked out Justin Gaethje, he played golf for 180 straight days, right?
Jeez.
And he's gotten really fucking good.
Damn.
In the year since we played together in Patrick Mahomes' golf tournament last year, he's played 300 rounds of golf to my 3.
Damn.
So I was talking to him sort of about, trying to Danny Woodhead this thing. If you don't know, former New England Patriot chasing a tour card right now, about his golf stuff. And in a long-winded way, that's me telling you that he's talking like a guy who's got 4 to 5 fights left instead of a guy that was maybe in the twilight of his career. So yes, I think Gaethje wants to be active.
Yeah.
Health has to cooperate, but yeah, I mean, I think that he is hoping that you get a clean result with Topuria and Oliveira. And I think there's an angle to both of those fights for Justin. And, ideally November or December, the lightweight championship is on the line yet again. But gosh, man, if Ilia Topuria goes and knocks out Charles Oliveira, do we think he's going to make a quick turn, or is he going to marinate in that and drink some red wine? I don't know. Yeah, Gaethje's handicap is an 8 right now. The guys at Shadow Creek where we play, we're trying to tell him, dude, you can't log your score. Our course is not tracked by the USGA. It's that private. What an unbelievable event, by the way. I want to stick on MMA, but just a tremendous event with Patrick Mahomes and everybody else. I got to meet Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola.
Nice.
And, thank them for all their contributions. All right, a few other things I want to get to. Certainly, we will get into Michael Morales and all of that. Maybe I should just get to the fucking Ecuadorian right now, Kenny, because, man, we've talked about this welterweight division. And shame on me, maybe, for not mentioning him. And part of that, I guess, is just because I'm not sure how expeditiously he's going to be able to get this thing to a title fight just because of the log jam of names. But my goodness, Kenny, what he did to Gilbert Burns, and say what you want, but this was a prepared Dorino Burns. The TKO comes at 3:39 of round 1, Kenny. Michael Morales is the real deal, and seems like he's going to be a real problem for a lot of these guys in the top 10 and otherwise.
No question. I'm glad you talked about Gilbert Burns' physical appearance, because he really looked like he was in the best shape of his life. He looked great. But Morales is just too much, man. Too much skill, too much size, too much speed. And Burns hung in there when he was in trouble. He tried to fight through some of those tough spots. It looked like his equilibrium was affected on some of those shots around the ear. But Morales, just too much firepower, man. The dude is absolutely massive. He's so skilled. I always look at these guys that are coming in that are very young. And if you can look at their fundamentals being highly developed, then it means for me that they're going to go far in their career. When you get some guys that everyone's talking about, but you see kind of glaring holes in some of their fundamentals, that it means that they need to work on those things. But a lot of these young guys like Morales are already coming in here with tremendous fundamentals, and you can just build on that foundation. And that's a really scary thought for a lot of those guys in the welterweight division that have to deal with that in Morales. But yeah, man, he looked really, really good. Burns had some nice moments, but Morales overall kind of made it look easy, man, which is very scary again.
Yeah, it's hard to make it look easy against any version of Gilbert Burns, right? If you pare it down to just it being a fight, if Gilbert Burns had no training camp, right? Just send the dog in there, you feel like he'd put up a fight. And I know MMA mathematics is probably not worth computing, but gosh, man, like Jack Della Maddalena was certainly tested by Gilbert Durinho Burns. Yeah, that was in Miami. It was a pay-per-view. It was not at the UFC Apex. It wasn't a main event. There are all these different things, but I think the UFC deserves a lot of credit for the way they've methodically built Michael Morales because, he is ready for prime time. And when you start to think about Morales fighting, Ian Machado, Gary, or some of these guys right now, I don't know how close he is to his fighting prime, but he's certainly ready, in my mind, to fight the very best this division has to offer right now.
Yeah, he knows how to pick his spots. He knows how to finish. He's an excellent striker. Even if you take him down like Burns did briefly, he knows how to get right back to his feet. He stays very calm and composed. And yeah, it seems like he's poised to make a good run at that belt and may even achieve that. I could easily see him as a champion in that division. I know it's stacked right now for sure, but I do think he's that good. I do think he's that talented.
So in terms of how you spin it forward for Michael Morales, right? He might have to fight somebody coming off of a loss because I don't know that one of the big names ranked above him or even below him is necessarily going to have an appetite for this fight. Let's just take Ian Machado Gary, right? I mean, you could do a fight between Ian Machado Gary and Michael Morales, but Ian, in my mind, has earned a championship opportunity. So why is he going to take that fight? Carlos Prates is a guy coming off a loss.
Ooh.
You have Joaquin Buckley and Kamaru Usman who are going to fight, but I think if you're Michael Morales, he hasn't been the most active guy. So I think part of it is maybe trying to, given the quick nature of the fight, spin this thing around pretty quickly. Michael Venom Page is number 15 in the world. Vicente Luque is booked against Kevin Holland. He's number 14. Carlos Prates, 13. Michael Morales, 12. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, to my knowledge, at number 11 in the world, does not have a fight at present. Colby Covington's not fighting Michael Morales. Gilbert Burns is 8. Joaquin Buckley is 7, and on it goes, right? Is Leon Edwards going to fight him? So I don't know what's going to happen, but Michael Morales has a lot of tools, and I think Kenny and I are in accordance that he is going to go far. I'm going to table the rest of the fight night stuff if I could. Well, I guess I'll give you one quickie on Gilbert Burns, right? 4 straight losses, I believe it is, if not 5. Seems like a guy who wants to fight. I remember when he was getting ready to fight Kamaru Usman for the title, and on the Countdown show, they sort of chronicled these charts that Gilbert Durinho Burns has, and he's truly obsessed, and hunger and determination were certainly not an issue during this training camp getting ready for Michael Morales. And the result, we said, I think on our show, is sometimes when you see a Morales as a betting favorite on this level, you're like, my God. And then you digest it Monday morning quarterback and you say, yeah, because he beat him in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. So you're Gilbert Burns right now, 37, 38 years old. You've done everything in your power to get ready for this young lion, and you can't compete. What are you doing at this stage of your career? You chasing a big paycheck or two? What are you doing if you're Gilbert Durinho Burns?
I think that's probably what's going to need to happen if he wants to continue fighting, because I don't know, he's kind of in the UFC limbo land, as we've talked about before. And I think that, listen, he's faced some really tough competition. JDM, Sean Brady, Bilal, like there's no shame in losing to those guys. However, like the guys that are kind of in that ranking, like, he's going to fight them again, or, like he's already gone through a lot of those guys. So I don't know if it's a matter of like, just find a fight that's interesting to him and just face them, or, now he becomes the guy that kind of faces all these newcomers. So I don't know where he's at. I do love his attitude. He certainly worked hard for this fight. No question. Looked it to be in phenomenal shape. But being in that zone also can be dangerous because mentally you might not be locked in. So Gilbert, you got some big decisions to make, man.
Could be a short notice opportunity potentially for a guy like that because he is undersized relative to the division. And even for Michael Morales, potentially getting a big opportunity on short notice, not unlike the one that Ian Machado Gary took advantage of against Carlos Prates. Welterweight, there aren't a ton of bookings right now. We mentioned Holland and Luque June 7th, Neil Magny, Gunnar Nelson, I believe, in July. And then, of course, the main event between Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley, June 14th. But exciting times for Michael Morales. And certainly with respect to Marlon Chito Vera, looks like Morales will be the next Ecuadorian to challenge for a UFC championship if he plays his cards right. All right, a few other things I'd like to get to, and then time permitting, we will get back to the UFC Fight Night recap. Ray Longo coming up. It looks like Ray Longo's here right now. We will not keep a good man waiting. Let's get to the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast.
Look at him. Look at the motherfucker. That's what I'm talking.
Hey.
Whoa. What's up, guys?
It's good to see you. Good morning. What time did we set the alarm for today?
Oh, yeah. We set the alarm for 10.
10. Okay, because I still hear a little gravel.
A little gravel.
Yeah. So good to see you. Right on the screws, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. How was your weekend?
Very nice. Very nice. How was yours?
It was fine. It was fine. We had my son's birthday party.
Oh, wow. How old?
He will be 7.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Hunter.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
We're moving. So we got the birthday party in, but I was trying to, we did it at Twister's Gymnastics, and I was trying to use like a vault to jump on a box, and I smashed my thumb. So,
no.
Yeah, I mean, every time I try to do something athletic, I see. That's why I just stick to weights and running.
Yeah, that gets worse and worse, John.
Yeah.
The older you get, because your brain, unfortunately, sees you as a 20-year-old until you do something like that, and then it's a disaster.
Yeah. So I was at the Patrick Mahomes golf tournament this weekend, right? And I had the opportunity to MC the pairings party. Jim Gray had done it the year before. They called my number this year. Very exciting. And then Steve White from the NFL Network emceed the gala, right? So the gala was Thursday night, and then Friday is the tournament. And then they have the awards thing right after the tournament, right? So I'm talking to my group from Coors Light, right? Unfortunately for them, I'm the celebrity in their group, right? And I was talking to them about the gala the night before, and I was like, yeah, I had a gin and tonic, or a gin and soda before the gala, so thank goodness they didn't call for the backup quarterback, and I had to go up there a little bit buckled at the gala, right? So an hour later, I'm on the golf course drinking fucking transfusions. I'm like drunk at 11 o'clock. I get a text message like, hey, Steve Weish banged in, he left. Can you MC the awards thing?
Man.
So,
nice.
I almost like willed it into existence, They're calling on the scab, the replacement player, the fucking backup quarterback. So anyway, I get up there, I'm fine, right? I have my third transfusion with me at the podium, go back to my hotel room, and I fucking throw up everywhere.
John Anik is the Dan Ige of broadcasting.
Yeah, right.
He is a true he is a true professional. Yeah, he is a true professional, this guy.
Did you hear though that I went back to my hotel room and threw up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not important. No. So were you
we're
like
concentrating
really
on the good stuff, John.
Yeah,
we're not
exactly,
concentrating on the bad stuff.
Was it one of those things where you felt better after you threw up, or were you just like still feeling like crap?
No, I felt like $1 million
Okay,
after
yeah, there you go.
It was heat exhaustion or what it was. But anyway, enough about that. So yeah, that was my weekend. Pretty good, Raymond. So did you have any locals fighting? I know you got some big things coming up on May 24th this coming weekend, but anybody locally last weekend or no?
Nobody this last weekend. Then June, this weekend starts a pretty big month.
So, and this is your birthday week as well, right?
Yes.
Your birthday, May 21st, this Wednesday?
And that's the 20th.
Your birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I'm not a big birthday guy at this point, man.
Yeah. Well, you did tell us you'd rather people give you money than gifts, though, if anybody out there wants to hit up Ray Longo on the Cash App.
Yeah.
Ray.
Yeah. Yes.
So any plans for the birthday tomorrow before we get to some more serious items?
No, I went out Saturday night with my family.
Nice. Just the four of you, or was it a little bit more extended?
No, Friday night. I'm sorry. Just the four of us, yeah.
You think I give a modicum of a shit if it was Friday or Saturday?
Well, then I thought you were going to say then you didn't watch the fight, so I figured.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Try now. trying to beat the objective before it happens. You know what I mean?
So I said, shame on me for having all these conversations about the welterweight division over the last 2 months and not maybe once mentioning the name Michael Morales. You know, he might be as good as any one of these guys. What'd you make of the young Ecuadorian and the win over Gilbert Burns, Raymond?
He 100% passed his first test, getting to where he wants to go. Very aggressive, very accurate, economical. Gilbert, might be in, obviously is probably at the tail end of his career. So perfect timing for Morales, I think. Also, he gets a big name on his resume, and he gets to work through, his growing process. So he looks. Look, I think even right now, him and Jack Della Maddalena would probably make for a nice fight. They look like they match up well, and
right.
Jack has the experience, and I think it would show in the fight. But I think that would be a fun fight too.
It's just timing is everything, right? And Kenny, you can sort of attest to this, right? You moved down to featherweight, and you sort of knew because of your name value and your finishing ability, whatever else, and the where the featherweight division was at. If you beat Diego Nunes at that point in time, you're probably getting a shot against Jose Aldo.
Right.
A guy like Michael Morales, right? Ray Longo sitting here telling our audience that Jack Della Maddalena, who looked like a fucking world beater 9 days ago, that Morales is ready right now, and I don't disagree. Like,
I'm not saying he's ready. I don't know if that would be the prudent thing to do, but it would make for a good fight, I think, even at this stage of the game. That's all. That's all I was saying. Now, Jack, I got a lot of respect for Jack. I don't want to disrespect him in that way, but I just think they match up. They look like they like to do similar things, and that always makes for a great fight.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to at all put words in your mouth as far as that is concerned. I think Kenny and I are just we feel like Morales is sort of ready for primetime, but that primetime fight, having now passed his first test might not necessarily materialize. And, I just think it's going to be hard for him to get fights. So,
and John, he looked like a huge welterweight too. He looked way bigger than Burns in that fight. His stature was, so he's going to fit in good in that division, I think.
And I would say his first test really was Neil Magny, right? And then he walked through Neil Magny, and then Gilbert Burns, former title contender, walked through him. Yeah, he's ready for even bigger names now, man.
Yep.
So many big fight announcements have happened since we were last on the air, Ray. I would love to get your thoughts on some of these items. Now, as I said off the top of the show, I happened to spend a couple days with Justin Gaethje this week, and certainly he was not thrilled that they called Charles Oliveira's number instead of his to fight Ilia Topuria. But what do you make of that fight at UFC 317 when Topuria and Charles Oliveira fight for the vacant lightweight championship?
I believe Topuria wins that fight, and I believe he's going to probably knock him out. That's the way I see that fight going.
Wow,
and
short and sweet.
Well, you know what it is? I think Charles, he's a little chinny, but he always manages to come back and find a way to win. But this kid's 27 years old. He gets you in trouble. He's not letting you off the hook. His wrestling is good. His jiu-jitsu's going to be good enough for what he's going to do, I believe. He's just a different animal. He's squared away everywhere. He's confident. Yeah. He hits like a freight train. Will it transfer over to 155? Charles also fought at 45. So, he's probably a in-betweener at the end of the day. So I just think the power and this guy, he's on a tear, and look at the guys he's beaten. So I think Charles is in trouble in this fight.
Yeah, so that was a great announcement. Another great announcement was Dricus du Plessis taking on Khamzat Chimaev. So what are your thoughts on that matchup?
Man, I tell you, look, I bet against Dricus so many times. I'm not doing it again. I love Khamzat. I think he's a great fighter, but I think Dricus weathers the first 2 rounds, and then he just starts to break him down, wear on him. I think it's going to be a grinding, ugly fight. But I think Dricus is going to get the job done.
So basically, sorry, I was going to say, John. So you think that if he survives the early onslaught, he'll be fine?
Well, I think that's where Khamzat's 1,000,000% the most dangerous. He's got, he's going to come unless he, is this his first 5-rounder, Khamzat? Do we know?
I know the Gilbert Burns fight was 3.
Right.
He was scheduled. Well, no, the Whitaker fight happened. It took 2 seconds. But yeah, I don't think he hasn't gone 25 minutes. But I think
Right. I'm just saying, I mean, unless he's going to alter his game plan to, try to conserve energy for a 5-rounder, but he's normally coming out guns blazing. And I think he's got a big mountain in front of him. So we'll see. That I'm excited for that fight, though. I think that's going to be a great fight. I think there's a lot of moving parts in there that could go either way. But I think Dricus. Yeah, I think Dricus gets the job done just by being able to absorb what Khamzat's going to give him, and then he comes back from it.
So I don't know if you guys saw, and sorry to interrupt Ken-Flo, but Nassourdine Imavov has already been tabbed as the backup for that fight. Did you see that?
Beautiful.
And did you see Dricus du Plessis? He's like, oh, I guess I'm fighting Nassourdine.
Did he say that? he doesn't think Khamzat's going to make it through camp, huh?
Well, I mean, there are plenty of title fights that happen without the mere presence of a backup, right? Like Muhammad Della Maddalena was going to happen, right? Jack was going to fight sick, right? Like with respect to Arman Tsarukyan and his back, Jack Della Maddalena would have fought, I bet, with that. You know what I mean? And I hope that doesn't get me in trouble, right? So Ian Machado Gary, though, to try to do right by him for stepping up against Carlos Prates, right? 2 weeks later for, 50, 75 grand, whatever, he weighs in as the backup. But there are a lot of these fights that don't even have a backup, or you have a backup like Vicente Luque or Anthony Smith, or they don't make weight. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can happen as far as that is concerned. But Khamzat, in terms of his reliability, I think hasn't led the league. So they immediately have a backup. And I thought it was pretty funny that the champion was like, oh, I guess I should prepare for Nassourdine. So what do you think the betting line is for that fight, Ray? Chimaev and Dricus du Plessis. Who do you think's the betting favorite? And I only ask you that because you said I'm not betting against Dricus anymore. So he's the favorite now, finally?
I'm going to say Dricus is the favorite in that fight.
Oh, no. Chimaev, 2-1.
2-1?
Khamzat Chimaev minus 198. Dricus du Plessis is plus 164.
Wow. All right.
No line as yet on Nassourdine Imavov. But
wow.
I thought it was interesting that Chimaev was the 2-1 favorite. So
yeah, I would have thought that would be more like a pick'em, a slight favorite. Wow, they really.
Well, all right, a few other things I would like to get to with Raymond Longo, if I could. How you doing today in terms of the Ray Longo minute? Like, you're looking forward to getting this over with and getting on with the rest of your day? Or you doing
no, I'm good. Why?
Okay. All right. So John Jones is in Thailand, I believe, or maybe he's in Russia now. He was with Hezbollah, wherever he is, right? He was asked about getting stripped of his undisputed championship. And I'd like to get both of your thoughts on this, if I could. So John Jones essentially said, upon being probed about having his heavyweight championship stripped, like, perhaps you're confusing me with a guy who gives a shit about something like that. And then he said, which is the more newsworthy item, I've told the UFC my plans. I'm not up to me as to when they share that with all of you, right? So who knows if John has said to them, I'll run it back, I'll fight again a year from the Stipe fight in November at Madison Square Garden, or if I want my retirement fight to be in December in Las Vegas. But Ray, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but for John Jones, it's about the money, and I would imagine he's going to get a guaranteed rate regardless of pay-per-view points. So whether Tom Aspinall has the red corner and the undisputed title or not, John Jones doesn't really seem to care, nor should he, given his legacy, right?
I agree with that, yeah. I don't think he gives a shit about that. That's interesting. But they should just strip him of the title. I mean, these guys, everybody's waiting for the fight. But it's interesting. You see, it seems, I don't know if it's correct, but it seems like the UFC, for some, I don't know, they give him a short leash, I think. They feel like, they've empowered, maybe they've empowered these people, but it's like, it seems like Islam's dictating what he's going to do. John Jones is dictating what he's going to do. It seems a little weird, but it just seems like that's the landscape. So yeah, strip him of the title, and he doesn't care if he fights as a challenger or whatever. He's getting his guaranteed money. I think Jones is right in that respect, though.
Here's the quote from John Jones, Kenny. Y'all barking up the wrong tree. I told the UFC my plans a long time ago. I have no clue why they haven't shared them with you guys yet. asked to outline his plan, yada, yada, to continue to monetize on this amazing brand that I've created. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's going to make so much money acting and showing up to do reality shows opposite Nate Diaz and everything else. Kenny, what do you make of all the Jon Jones noise, and what do you think is the result of all this?
I think that Jon very much cares about his own legacy, and he is going to do whatever it takes for him to have the best result and best situation possible for him. You know, it's in the best business interest of the UFC for them to push on with this fight for Aspinall and make it the best conditions for Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is the future of the sport, and they want to build the future of the sport and get that going as quickly as possible. And if they need to run over Jon Jones in order to do it, that's what they're going to try to do. Jon Jones is aware of it. He's not playing the game, and he's going to delay and get the optimal situation for himself. That's just the way it is, right? I think he's fully aware of this new lion coming in to take his territory, and you know, he's going to put everything in his favor as much as possible. But yeah, I think we'll get this fight eventually. I just think it's going to be a little bit more down the line, and you know, I think Jon has a lot going on, but I also think he wants to make sure he is absolutely prepared. He does not make any decisions in regards to fights, you know, that casually, I should say.
Yeah, really well. Yeah, really well put. Yeah, I don't know. He did brand himself. He does deserve that right, but he's also saying the UFC knows exactly what he said and when he was going to fight, and obviously we're not privy to that. So we're sitting here, you know, pontificating and playing, you know, Monday morning quarterback. We don't know, you know, they already know what the deal is. So it is what it is. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of his, but he has earned the right to put the odds in his favor, I guess, but it's not helping the promotion or the fans or anything else.
Ray, and thank you for filling in the blank. And I think that's kind of the rub there, is that I'm sure Jon Jones said that he wants to fight at a much later date than what the UFC wants.
Right.
UFC is still trying to make that happen, see if they can sweeten the deal. And it's probably a message they don't really want to deliver the fans, because they don't want to strip Jon Jones. But at the same time, they want to get something going. And maybe for Tom Aspinall, maybe he doesn't want to take a fight in the meantime. I don't know. So it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, I bet you could tell, I think, by some of the reactions of he already feels like he's getting shit on, right? I mean, he doesn't think it's fair, whatever's going on. So
here's the problem.
Yeah.
Tom Aspinall defended his interim heavyweight championship almost a fucking year ago.
Yeah,
right.
So certainly it's not ideal for the combat sports leader to have their heavyweight championship not on the line, right? There was an extended delay for Stipe and Jon. And as they pursue a new television contract, there are no heavyweight championship fights on the horizon. But more annoying and frustrating than all of that, I would think, for promoter, for Aspinall, for the fans, Tom had to defend the interim belt, the silver medal, almost a fucking year ago. So to have Tom wait till November or December right now is insane. To lose another 18 months of Aspinall's prime. So, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens in terms of a strip or a vacation.
Yeah, John, that's a really good point. This kid's he's still got youth on his side, and it just tick, 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 tick. It's just getting, where the other, and the other guy's doing it on purpose. It's a mind game. So I think the UFC has to step in and make a decision. They're always thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead with the marketing and name value and all that stuff. But, this is where you get in trouble, I think, a little bit.
This is a tricky one, though, because I know you sort of said it's sort of weird guys are calling the shots like Jon Jones and Islam, but I think we do have to treat it as a case-by-case basis. And Jon Jones has status as the consensus. Sorry, people don't like when I use that word, but as one of the greatest mixed martial arts athletes of all time. So he has established so much goodwill, even though there have been some missteps, that he can almost call his shot. But for Islam, Ray, like, can't you acknowledge that for the competitor within Islam Makhachev, that 2 of his title defenses at lightweight already came against a blown-up featherweight? Like, I don't think Islam is hard to deal with or trying to, command his own shot, but they're telling him for the 3rd time in 4 defenses they want him to fight at featherweight.
No, I go with that. You put it that way. I don't think the rematch would fall. That was tough, man. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that.
How do you feel about Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, Ray?
I mean, the fight I really wanted to see was Islam against Topuria.
Right.
Because yeah, you're right. This is tricky. I don't know. Because
All
I
right,
mean, he
that's fine.
did
We can
give,
move on.
it would be nice, like somebody's going to give Islam a chance to become a double champ. Maybe it should be reciprocated to Ilya, but you're right. He already did it with Volk, and that's not making him look any better when you beat a guy from a younger division. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I'll go either way on that. I'm not dead set in anything. It just appears that maybe because of the fights, like the Volk fights, that it appears that Islam's calling the shots, but I think they might have gotten themselves in some trouble by doing two of those fights now.
All right. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. Care to venture a guess, Raymond, as to who's favored between Tom Aspinall and John Jones before we move on?
Wow. That's got to be I'm going to go with Aspinall.
Yeah, Aspinall's minus 130. And Daniel Cormier and I did talk about this a little bit, right? Because John Jones is plus 110, and he figures to be at the height of motivation, figures to have maybe less body fat than he had against Stipe. Perhaps not, right? This will be his third heavyweight appearance, right? So I think that's a good thing in terms of Kenny is smirking, but also a little bit frozen. But Kenny, I don't think you could blame a sports bettor who has made a lot of money over the course of John Jones's career betting on John, who would take a long, hard look at John Jones at plus money for the first time since maybe he fought Andre Gusmao at UFC 87.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, that is going to be a juicy proposition for a lot of people out there who are the whales out there to get John Jones as an underdog. But I mean, you look traditionally at championship fights, the younger guy usually is the favorite for a reason. But John Jones isn't just another dude.
Yeah.
All right, we have about 5 more minutes with Ray Longo. Ray, first I want to give you a chance to promote Mr. Dilemme and everybody else who might be competing this weekend, and then we do have a few would you rathers on the way out to try to set you up for a great Monday.
Yeah, well, we got a couple of guys going this week. We also got Chris Weidman. I think he's wrestling Pat. Is it Tume? I don't even know. Shit, man. What's his name? Who's Pat? He's a Greco-Roman guy. I think it's Pat Tume. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
He's doing that for the CFFC on Thursday night, and then Anthony Dilemme defends his title for the first time against
fighting a Boston kid, no?
No. He's definitely an East Coast guy. Ryan Cafaro. He's not from Boston, is he?
He's fighting Ryan Cafaro. No, not a Boston.
I think he's
kid.
a Jersey.
Pat Downey.
Is it Pat Downey? What did I say?
Pat Downey is going against Weidman and the rest.
Oh,
of
Pat Downey, not
yeah.
Tume. Who the hell is Pat Tume? I don't even know.
Pat Downey, I know. I didn't know Tume. All right, so you got Downey, and then you got Dilemme fighting Ryan Cafaro, who's
Let's
a friend
go.
of mine. So it's
Is
interesting.
he a friend of yours? Wow.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Well, he's held pads for Frankie Edgar and Paul Felder and many other guys. And at one point in time, we actually considered, believe it or not, putting the Anik Florian Podcast logo on Ryan Cafaro's shorts. So I will not be rooting for your guy this weekend.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
And I definitely.
Let's go, Rye.
Definitely.
Just kidding. I actually love Dilemme, so I'm fucking torn. Wait, Cafaro fights out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
Well, he's definitely like a Jersey Philly guy, no?
I love Sean Brady, though. Got a chance to see Sean Brady in Montreal. What an absolute stud. The Korean Thunder, Ryan Cafaro, fights out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If that's the case, I might be rooting Dilemme.
Oh, shoot.
Hey, Ray.
Don't put that logo on his shorts either, because it's not going to look good all bloodied up. Leave that on.
You just want our social team to cut that for you, right? That the Anik Podcast logo not going to look good all bloodied up on Team Longo's opponent, right? Yeah. All right, Ray, would you rather have a tiny unicorn that follows you everywhere or a giant fluffy cat that sits on your lap whenever you try to work? Okay, he's not going to answer that.
I don't even know. I'll take let the tiny unicorn follow me around. Right. He'll be in for a treat.
Hope the Anik Florian Podcast listeners appreciated that. Ray's looking for the tiny unicorn. All right, Ray, would you rather be followed by a band wherever you go or by someone just narrating your life?
Followed by a band.
Ray, would you rather talk like Mickey Mouse when you're angry or turn into Shrek when you're turned on?
Jesus Christ. I want to know, you got to give me who the hell is coming up with this shit.
The question beckons, would you rather talk like Mickey Mouse when you're angry
No.
Okay.
It reminds me of me when I asked, I was like, I want BJ Penn's belt. That sounds like Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, kind of
go
worked for Tyson. Maybe I'll take the Mickey Mouse voice.
There you go.
I finished fights, huh?
Ray, would you rather be wealthy but only able to walk everywhere, or broke but able to travel anywhere in the world?
Well,
I said, give me wealth, I'll fucking walk anywhere.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Yo, you like that one, huh?
I like that one. It's interesting. Yeah, I'll take the wealth.
All right, this question is for both of you. Would you rather chew with your mouth open? No, we did that one. Would you rather have to speak in rhyme for the rest of your life, or have to speak in riddles for the rest of your life, Ken-Flo?
Oh, gosh. Speaking rhymes.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. Hip-hop.
Hey, Ray.
Over here.
Yes.
Would you rather have a Texas accent and live in New York, or a New York accent and live in Texas?
I'd rather have a New York accent and live in Texas.
I knew it.
Texas accent, huh?
Yeah, we're not getting rid of that. It's too late.
All right. Hey, we love you. Good luck
That's
to
it.
Mr. Weidman against Pat Downey. Oh, no, I have more.
Oh, no more. Well, whatever. No more of those.
Oh,
would you rather
I
stuff.
got more MMA. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
got plenty more
you know
MMA.
what that,
Tons. All right.
is that what we're down to, just one fight on that card? That's not saying much about the card, is it?
Which card? Oh, you mean this past weekend, the
Yeah.
Burns Morales card?
Yeah.
Oh, by all means, Raymond.
What other fights
There
were
are
there?
2.5
No,
hours
I
for the
thought it was
show.
a little. No, I thought it was a weeknight though. I was,
Well,
when I
that's why-
when I start cleaning up during the fights, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, I gave the card the amount of minutes that I thought it deserved. I mean, Jared Flash
Exactly.
Gordon's a friend.
Oh
and
wait,
got a
we
big
got to talk
knockout,
about
you know.
that. We should have mentioned that. What a beautiful right hand counter.
Oh,
off that
yeah.
hook. No,
Nasty.
congrats to Jared Gordon, man. Was happy to see him get that knockout. That was really good.
Huge, absolutely needed it. And big win for Gabe Green by Face Crank. The prelims featured a lot of finishes. Yeah, I was multitasking as well. And this Melkaziel Costa, I think, deserves a verbal mention. Great fight with Julian Erosa. And more
Yeah.
importantly, Costa, I think, 3-0 in 2025. But yeah, a little bit of a busy weekend and sort of not a headline-filled event. So we
Ray,
gave
what-
Michael Morales some shine, but
Ray, what do you think about Patchy Mix getting signed to the UFC?
Ooh, man, that's exciting. That's going to be weird too, because he does train with Marab a lot, and
Yeah.
Aljo, I believe. I know his name's been mentioned a lot. I
And
think
they've trained together? He's been at your
I
gym,
think-
is that right?
No, he's never been at the gym.
Okay.
I'm going to say. I
they've
don't-
trained together extensively in Vegas. They're friends.
Yeah.
Definitely
100%.
friends. I'd imagine they'd fight each other for the ultimate prize, but Patchy Mix has got to get through Mario Bautista, and even then he
Which-
might not get a title fight, So
fight.
that's in my notes as well. Patchy Mix is a great guy. If you don't know Tatiana Suarez, his boyfriend. But yeah, 19 days from now, Ray, he fights Mario Bautista, UFC 316. You'll be there June 7th, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good
Yeah.
night for him to be fighting Marab, defending the belt. But yeah, it was going to be Marlon Cheeto Vera against Mario Bautista, but instead it'll be Mix.
Yeah, and I think it's a nice addition because it looks like Marab kind of did go through everybody, and we'll see what happens with hopefully he gets past O'Malley. But yeah, it's interesting. I think Patchy deserved to be here a couple of years ago. So
Yeah, well, Marab hasn't fought Corey Sandhagen,
right.
and Mario Bautista has won 7 fights in a row. So there are people to.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, babe, that's not an easy fight. I'm not
No.
saying that, but I tell you, even Sandhagen Mix would be a good fight.
Yeah,
That would be a great fight.
yeah. Calendar
so,
just didn't
There's
necessarily.
there's a lot. I think he brings a new energy into the division. I think it's great.
Any idea what the betting line is on your guy Marab and Sean O'Malley, and then we'll really let you go.
Marab's the favorite.
Or is that all you're going to give me? I mean, that's
What,
just
give,
so
give me
lazy.
I'm going to say I say he's a minus 180.
Minus 360, double it.
Is he minus 360?
Wow.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
maybe
big. That's big.
Maybe this fight won't be as hot as you thought. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Hey, we love you. I hope you enjoyed yourself today. We are actually doing a show this Sunday night, May 25th, because Kenny's birthday is May 26th next month.
Wow.
So if you have some time Sunday and there's a window, we'll revolve the entire show around your schedule. So
count me in. Count me in.
Hey, happy birthday. How old are you tomorrow?
Happy birthday.
Man, I'm not telling you.
All right.
Can I be like a chick?
Well, we just know it's older than 65. So
that's correct.
I love you.
Take it easy, man. I'll talk to
See you, Ray.
Imagine that Kenny older than 65.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. What good does that do me?
50.
Older than 65.
He's barely 50. He's barely 50.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
See you, Ray.
You're the man, the star of the program, the great Raymond Peter Longo, with us every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. I'm just having a little bit of fun with the guy, but at least at the beginning, right? I think for people who watch the show on the DraftKings network or on the DraftKings YouTube channel, and they hear me say, like, give him a little grief for maybe not wanting to be here. I don't know. His energy at first made it seem like he didn't want to be here. I want to be here. You know where I wish the Boston Celtics were? The NBA Finals. They're almost here, and every second counts with DraftKings Sportsbook, unofficial sports betting partner of the NBA. You're not just watching history, though. You're betting on it, and now is your shot to get in on the action. Player props, game lines, live bets. This is playoff betting at its finest. Just ask our producer, Cody Merrow, who's all over it. But if you, unlike him, are new to DraftKings, you can bet just $5. And if your bet hits, you will cash in with $300 in bonus bets. We have upped the ante. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Not now, but right now. Use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD, AFPOD for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Thank goodness that Patchy Mix was afforded the opportunity to pursue free agency and come to the UFC. And you knew he was going to be asked about Merab Dvalishvili and that friendship and all of that, right? But can we please put some respect on the name Mario Bautista, right? And the man's won 7 fights in a row at 135 pounds, capstoning that winning streak with a win over Jose Aldo. And no one's saying dick about him. So if he goes out there and beats Patchy Mix, can the MMA Labs Mario Bautista maybe fight for the world title, right? Like, I don't get too upset like this. Like, you could tell I'm upset right now when it comes to Super Mario, right? But I know we don't live in a straight meritocracy, but like, what are we doing with Mario Bautista? Let's not pretend the division's cleaned out when there's a guy who is on a Movsar Evloev-like streak right now. That's all. Yeah.
The dude's an absolute beast, and I mean, is trying to do it the same way that Merab did it, who's the current champion. So, absolutely deserves it, man. Right. Yeah.
So, and not unlike the way Belal Muhammad did it. Speaking of which, we wish the former UFC welterweight champion all the best as he continues on the mend. It seems like it's probably been a rough couple of days for him. I would imagine, though, that he still keeps his sort of ear to the noise and the clamor, and Sean Strickland and Belal Muhammad have certainly no love lost for one another. And Sean Strickland is now trying to angle for that fight. Now, certainly you don't want to fight Sean Strickland with a broken orbital. And I'd imagine some people in the Team Muhammad camp would love him to, take some real appreciable time off here, Kenny. That's a big fight, though, between two former champions. If it happens at 185 pounds, right? I'm sure Belal would probably be more in pursuit of, a welterweight eliminator or something like that. But what are your thoughts on the Strickland Muhammad noise? Because there is some.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think Strickland's at his point in his career where he kind of wants to do the fun fight thing and do fights that kind of matter to the fans. So I think it's an interesting call out. And Belal, right now, I think Strickland weighed in at like 230 pounds or something crazy. I forget what it was on the scale. He looked massive. But yeah, so for Belal, he'd have to make that weight or, I guess get up to 185 shouldn't be a big problem for him, but he'd have to probably put on some weight and then maybe come back to 170. So yeah, I'm curious to see how Bilal approaches this. I still think that he probably feels that he can get that belt back. And I think with a different strategy, maybe a different preparation, he can. So yeah, more importantly, I hope Bilal gets healthy as quickly as possible and we see him back in there soon.
All right, a few other things I just would like to get your thoughts on very quickly. We'll be back with all of you this coming Sunday night to get you guys ready for Aaron Blanchfield and Macy Barber and all of that noise coming up on May 31st. And certainly the countdown is on to the championship doubleheader on June 7th. But a few other things, right? International Fight Week, we mentioned Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira. You also will have Alexandre Pantoja, the minus 245 betting favorite in defense of his title against Kai Kara-France, who is plus 200. And then Manel Kopp that same night, the people's champion, Manel Kopp, minus 298, taking on Brandon Royval, who is plus 240. Certainly both of those guys, Royval and Kopp, are worthy of a title fight right now. You have three guys who I think in my mind are worthy, right? Kai Asakura got the last shot in his UFC debut. What are your thoughts on that moving night in the flyweight division? Kai getting his shot and Manel Kopp in a true eliminator against the former number one contender.
Going to be a great night of fights. I think, first of all, it's smart for the UFC to pair those fights together in case someone does get injured. I think that, Kai Kara-France could be a big threat just based on his striking power alone. He's had a ton of preparation time to get ready for someone like Pantoja. And he's had an opportunity to watch Pantoja do his thing and try to adapt. So curious to see how his preparation goes. And of course, Manel Kopp has been on fire. Royval is a beast as well. So it's going to be nonstop action for sure. Both those guys are so good everywhere that I think it's going to be a great night.
Last thing I wanted to get your thoughts on. June 7th, Kayla Harrison, Juliana Pena. Kayla Harrison is the minus 600 betting favorite to become the women's bantamweight champion. And I think
600 minus 600,
yes.
You said? Okay.
So
okay.
Juliana Pena comes back at plus 440, right?
Okay.
And if you are curious, Dustin Poirier minus 115, Max Holloway minus 105, essentially a pick 'em is my last betting line of the day. But Kayla Harrison, bro, you've called her fights. You've had an up-close seat to a lot of her mastery, right? But the reason she's minus 600 and not minus 1,200 double that is because of the weight, correct? Right?
Yep.
Right? I mean, I just wonder, there's no 445-pound division, no 145-pound division for the women in the UFC. So for Kayla Harrison, she has sort of given you hints as to just how insane this is that she's doing this weight cut, right? And how not good for her it is, right? And you got to think long-term Kayla and her brain really has a philosophical sort of divide here with what she is doing. So how many times is Kayla Harrison actually going to be able to make this weight, right? It's one thing to win the belt against Juliana Pena and maybe defend it against Amanda Nunes, but bro, if you're asking me over under 2.5 more weight cuts for Kayla Harrison at bantamweight, I'm saying under. I'm saying she will cut it to win the belt, cut it to defend it, and that's fucking it.
Yeah, I mean, Kayla's jacked. People don't realize how much muscle she walks around with, and she competed much heavier, even with judo. And granted, she has a lot more time to make the weight cut and recover than she did, obviously, when she was competing at a high level in judo, at the highest level in judo, by the way. But 135 pounds is a lot to ask for, man. So. That's the big question mark. And Pena is one of those girls similar to a Dricus du Plessis who is not going to go away. She will come at you and she's going to make you look for that finish. So Kayla's going to have to expend a lot of energy in doing so. I think the way that she matches up, just based on the fact that Pena does a lot of her best work as a grappler, and because Kayla Harrison, I think, is the better grappler, I think that's why we're seeing that huge disparity when it comes to the gambling numbers. But I think that's the big question mark. Can she make the cut and do it well enough where she can perform at the best of her ability on fight night? So going to be interesting. But Kayla, when she's performing at her best, I don't think there's a better fighter in that weight class, assuming she makes the cut. Curious to see how that all goes down.
It's just fascinating when you think back to an era of fighters sitting in chilled arenas waiting to get on the scale like you did at 4 o'clock, and there was suspense as to whether or not people would make the weight. Right. It's nuts, right? And almost, I'm fighter first, so I don't miss it in totality. But in terms of the suspense and the drama and the pageantry, I certainly miss it. But the reason I bring this up is because before I present these betting lines to everybody, before I go onto the DraftKings Sportsbook application, I try to predict what these are going to be. And even sometimes for Juliana Pena, when I'm loving on her, she thinks I'm hating on her. But I have Kayla minus 1,000. And I can only surmise that she's minus 600 because making the weight and competing at the weight several times over, I think is going to be really difficult. But far be it for me to challenge the all-time great two-time American Olympic champion. All right. Glad that we could clean out the MMA news desk a little bit today. Congratulations to Jared Flash Gordon, all the big winners from UFC Fight Night, Burns versus Morales. We were to be joined today by Leafwell's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. June Chin. She is under the weather, so we wish Dr. June Chin all the best. Maybe some medical cannabis perhaps is in order for the doctor, but leafwell.com/Anik if you do want to get a discount on a medical card or perhaps a renewal is in order for you, leafwell.com/Anik. Also, I just wanted to acknowledge my dear friend Heidi Dean, who is the UFC matriarch and contributed so much to our athletes and our staff and our production over her near 2 decades with the UFC. She is no longer with the company. She has listened to or watched almost every episode of the Anik Florian podcast. So HD, if you're watching till the end this week, I know we didn't have any predictions for you, but we love you. She has been a huge inspiration behind the pronunciation of the week and this program. So we love you, HD, and hopefully you won't be a stranger in whatever lies ahead. So, all right.
Heidi, we love you.
All right, that's going to do it. Thanks to Ray Longo, our producers, Cody Merrill. Thanks to Jason Anik and everybody else for putting this fine show together. We are back Sunday, maybe Sunday night, might be sometime around 4 p.m. Again, we're going to let Longo choose essentially when the show is. But also coming up next week, we tell you where Ken-Flo will be for UFC 316. So a lot of big things coming up Sunday night. Happy birthday, Cody. Happy birthday, Ray. And we will celebrate Kenny's birthday Sunday night live on the Anik and Florian podcast. You can go to johnanik.com for all of your merchandise needs. And don't forget to download that John Anik app. We will have another free chat coming up this Thursday. With that, for Ken-Flo, I'm John Anik. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Tell your mom, yo fucking later.
I love this shit.